Well, and that is a great segue to kind of we're winding down here. I just got a few questions left, but I always ask everyone who comes from a tier one element on this show the exact same question. People always have varying opinions, but they like to have fun with it. Delta versus SEAL Team 6 is obviously a very classic rivalry in the military community. You've had the opportunity to serve at the tier one level, and you know both organizations very well. So you are one of the few humans who can give an opinion unbiasedly because you're not part of either, but you work with them. How would you compare and contrast those two units?
Yes, I'll use a different term just because I think it's more specific. I embedded with them, right? I lived with them for 6 months at a time, both pre-deployment and alert and deployment. Um, when it comes to being on target and you go, hey, I got to go capture, kill somebody, they're both wonderful options. They're both great organizations. They have different strengths and weaknesses. I would say um, Delta Force has a stoicism about them. That is, they are stoics as an organization. The first day I went over to pull alert with them, a teammate of mine who was introducing me to the guys I was working with takes me over and introduces me. We're talking, and he walks out of the room, and a Delta operator walks in, and he just stands there and looks at me. And he doesn't say hi. He doesn't say, hey, welcome to the team. He just standing there looking at me. And I found it to be odd. I think a lot of people get uncomfortable in silence, and I don't. So I just stood there and looked back at him. But it kind of defines how they engage with people. They're mission focused, and if you're not one of them, they kind of want to understand why you're around them. But really good at what they do. SEALs are also really good at what they do, but SEALs only draw from the SEAL community. So when you go through their assessment selection for Dev Group versus the assessment selection for Delta, they're kind of different, right? Up at the SEALs, it's, hey, we know about you. Your reputation carries a certain amount of weight. We're going to put you through all these rigors. And then, some guys we will select, some guys we won't. Where Delta, you can be pulled from anywhere. And they've got to look at you from a very baseline of who you are. And I think those two have two different types of processes have cultural effects on both organizations. So that'd be my feedback to you. They're both great organizations, great people. I keep in contact closely. As a matter of fact, 3 weeks ago I was in Germany, and my buddy who I was in on the Ebola Boss mission with, where we shot the vehicle coming at us. He called me out of the blue. He's like, "Hey man, I'm just checking in on you." And then yesterday I was reaching out to one of my Delta buddies because I knew he had some health issues, and he and I are communicating still today. I have good friends on both sides of the house, and I've seen challenges on both sides of the house, but both wonderful organizations.
If there is, again, because I think you can provide an unbiased answer, is there a mission where you could think of that only one or the other to be chosen for? Like, if we had to do this, we would always go with DevGru. If we had to do this kind of mission, we would always go with Delta. Are there like real
Sure.
examples you could choose?
Yeah, anything on the water, you're going to go with SEAL Team 6. That's their second nature, whether it's, taking down a ship or, doing it over the beach or a dive operation. A team of divers at Delta Force, it's not in their DNA. They may have the certification, but they don't live, eat, and breathe it. Um, and there are a lot of land missions that Delta Force does that the SEALs wouldn't be involved in. The SEALs, through 2 decades in Afghanistan and Iraq, have become better land warfare operators, and they're very capable. But if you got to choose between Delta and SEAL Team 6, why wouldn't you take the people if that's their base mission? So absolutely, they both have unique missions.
And this is how we're going to wrap up the this section before we get into the Combat Control Foundation. It's my understanding, based off of when we had our pre-interview discussion, you had the opportunity. You said no to both organizations at the end of your career. Is that correct?
I did well. It was really towards the middle of my career when I was still at the 24th. We had our LNO up in Virginia. He was leaving, and they, the command asked me would I like to go do that job. And then the sitting sergeant major over at Delta, the ops sergeant major, he called me right around the same time and said, "Hey, I'd like you to come be our LNO." And I told them both, I said, I'm not interested in doing that. And the response I got from both was, why the fuck wouldn't you come to the best unit in all the U.S. military? And my response was, I'm in the best unit in the military. As a combat controller, I get to go work with anybody at any time when the mission goes down. If I'm your LNO or if I'm your LNO, then I only go into things that you are slated for. And I wouldn't bind myself. And part of the logic behind that to make it more tangible for the listeners, once we took over Baghdad International, every night I was going out on missions, and I was either with the Navy or the Rangers. One night I got called out to do a mission with the SEALs. Sorry, not the SEALs, the SAS. And then I had missions I was going out with combat controllers, right? Running airfields and stuff like that. So if I'm doing that every single night while these guys come back and they go into their 48, 72-hour rest cycle, I'd rather be going back-to-back missions than coming back and going to rest cycle when I'm not doing something. And that was my logic for it. And nothing against those units. They are great units, and it's a tremendous honor. The guys who go do those jobs, they have a lot of responsibility. They are highly respected. And they're leading paratroopers and combat controllers up in those units. But for me, it was more about leading our own guys and always being able to go on any mission that I go on.
I love that. I love that. And I think that the audience is going to enjoy that entire segment, especially because, again, you are one of the few people who can look at it unbiasedly and kind of lay down your assessment of it. I want to get into the Combat Control Foundation now, which I know is very important to you. You serve on the board of it. Can you explain to the audience what the Combat Control Foundation is and what the goal of it is?
Yeah. So, the goal is to take care of our people, 2 decades of war. And then previous to that, I mean, we got our Vietnam era guys, we got our guys in the 80s, we got our guys who maybe didn't go to war, but, have needs. We're there to help fill those needs. The VA and the civilian medical system can only do so much. And I'll give you an example. We got a call about 6 weeks ago. A former teammate of mine, he was having some issues and he was in a hospital. And his wife called us and said, they don't understand what he's done. So they don't understand how to handle him. They're treating him like a normal person off the streets, and he's not responding well to it. So I called Dre, our executive director. She's this wonderful person. Say, hey, here's what we got. We got on the phone with this guy's wife and said, okay, tell us what's going on. She walked us through everything that's going on. Dre immediately reached out to a special operations specific organization that helps guys who are in this type of distress. Within a week, we had him in this new position, and as of yesterday, he's doing great. But in the regular civilian care system, he would have not gotten what he needed, and he was getting worse by the day. So our job is to, raise money and take care of our people. We have 4 pillars. We've got resilience, we've got health, we've got education, and we've got heritage. And they probably fall in that order, right? Resilience is more about dealing with things that have happened in the past, or preparing for things so that you're more equipped to handle them when they come at you. Health is clearly anything that has happened to you that the VA is not willing to help you with. Education, we do scholarships for family members of our operators. And then heritage, we dabble in that a little bit. That's a piece of our mission, but the bigger pieces are the front end of resilience and health. So that's what we do.